kutokana na mauaji ya kinyama. Ni mtu ambaye alikuwa katika kijiji hicho ama ni mtu ambaye anaishi katika mitaa mikubwa ya taifa letu la Kenya?
This is a very mysterious case and is giving the Kenyan police a very tough time to unravel. An elderly couple who had just returned from the USA was found brutally murdered in their home in Kenya in Nyamira County after they had a very strange visitor. 62-year-old Edward Morema and his wife Grace were found tied and stabbed to their death in different parts of their house on the 21st of March 2022, a night after they received what the housemaid described as a very strange visitor who only communicated to the couple. Now the big question that everyone is asking is, who was this visitor? And was it really the visitor that killed the couple? The story even gets mysterious, almost like a puzzle, because something seemed to be missing somewhere. And I personally have some thoughts. But before we continue, please like and share. And also subscribe if you haven't subscribed to this channel. So should there be any future update, you'll be the first to get notified. Now let's continue. So Edward and Grace were said to be US citizens who lived in the USA, somewhere in Minnesota, and they have a home in Kenya, which they visited in March of 2023 for a vacation, as it was reported. So they had just arrived at their home in Kenya, a very big mansion in Nyamira County. It's not clear the time difference between when they arrived to when the strange visitor came, but somewhere early in their visit was when it was said they had their guests. Now, Edward and Grace had children and grandchildren, none of whom was said to have been with them in the property as at the time of their death. That is to say, as at the time of this incident, the only people in their mansion with them was their housemaid and a gardener who lived in another building in the same compound, I would presume. So pretty much when it comes to the house where they were found dead, the only person that lived with them was their housemaid. They also had a grandson who checked up on them by the name of Samuel, but Samuel did not live in the compound. Apparently, he most likely lived with his own parents in their own house, still in the same county, but quite a distance. So that night on the 21st of March, when the visitor arrived, the housemaid said she hadn't seen this guest before, and so did the gardener. The gardener also said they hadn't seen the guest, but they both corroborated the story that the couple did had a visitor. And when the visitor came, the housemaid prepared food for the couple as well as the visitor. And according to her, she watched them communicate, she watched them talk, she heard them have conversations, which to her interpreted as this visitor was familiar with the couple and the couple knew the visitor, so it was a guest that they knew of. Clearly, this was not a stranger that was a total stranger, but it was only a stranger to the maid and the farmhand and probably anyone who heard of who this guest was. But it was confirmed that the couple, Edward and Grace, knew who the visitor was. There is no particular description per se if the person was of an older side or a younger side, but they know it's a man, a tall man, and that is as far as we know. So after the housemaid served them food, she proceeded to her room because it was in the night that the visitor had come. And when she went to her room, the next morning, it was like every other day. When the housemaid woke up, she went about doing her chores, cleaning, washing, just cleaning the big house per se. But she hadn't seen anything and she hadn't noticed anything odd yet. Now, their grandson, Samuel, claimed that he tried to call his grandfather that morning of March of 21st, but could not go through to him. His phone was switched off. He had first thought maybe their battery had died because the power went off the same night before the March of 21st, apparently. Maybe in the night of March of 20th. But he knew in the night the power went off, and so he assumed that could have been the reason why their battery died. But then Samuel thought again and remembered that they had a solar power in that mansion, which means that there was no way that their battery was dead. Unable to reach his grandfather, Edward, Samuel asked a friend of his who was close to the compound to, check on them. And when the friend went into the Morema's family mansion compound, she saw the housemaid cleaning and she asked the housemaid, Samuel sent me. How is the grandparents doing? The housemaid told the girl that they had not woken up. And that friend reported back to Samuel that the housemaid said that his grandparent had not woken up. And it was around 10 a.m. already. And that was when Samuel was worried and he came to the house himself. Apparently, he went to the couple's room first and did not see them there. And so, since it's a big house, he began searching the rooms to see maybe they slept in one of the rooms. They had many rooms. And I guess that was the time the housemaid told Samuel that they had a guest the night before. And probably that was what led, or maybe not, led Samuel to the guest room to see if, the visitor was there. And when he opened one of the guest room, that was when he saw his grandmother, Grace, lying in her pool of blood. She had been tied and gagged and stabbed. And instantly they knew something bad had happened. And checking around the house again for probably the visitor and the grandfather, they saw Edward's body near the garage. The same situation, tied and killed, covered in his pool of blood. There was no sight of the visitor anymore. Apparently, they didn't see the visitor. And it's not clear if Samuel knew about the visitor. Some sources are reporting that Samuel was the one who told the police about the visitor. But it could have been the housemaid who had told Samuel about the visitor. Because Samuel said when he spoke to his grandfather the night before, the grandfather never mentioned anything about the visitor to him. The grandfather never told him, oh, we had a guest and this is who it was never mentioned. They only spoke and they wished each other good night, and that was it. So when it comes to this visitor now, it's almost problematic for the police to solve these because only the housemaid seemed to have seen the visitor directly. The farmhand did not exactly sleep in the house, but sources are saying he's corroborating the housemaid's story that yes, there's a chance that the couple had a visitor. So these two people have agreed that the couple did have a visitor the night before. And they did not know the visitor, only the late couples knew the visitor. And this is where the police are finding it difficult to solve. A lot of development has been coming up since this story was first published. It's a current story happening right now, still in the process of investigation. So clearly there will be an update eventually. Make sure you stay subscribed. Should there be an update, I will be happy to update you. But as of now, what a lot of people are saying, or what a lot of claims that are being made is that maybe the housemaids and the farmhand knew way more than they were telling, because only the two of them claimed that the couple had a visitor. And when the police did their investigation, they realized that the house was not broken into or broken out of. And the farmhand, the gardener, was the one who locked the gate in the night. So he had locked the gate to go to his room, which means if anybody wanted to leave the house or something, he would have to open it the next morning. I guess which he did for Samuel's friend to come and check on them. But if they had a visitor who came in to kill this couple, how did the visitor leave the house or leave the compound? How? No door was broken into. There was no forceful entry. And ironically, the house had CCTV cameras that were supposed to be working. Unfortunately, that day that the visitor came, the camera did not work. Someone had damaged the CCTV camera to clearly prevent them from being seen or caught. Now the police believe that this is a form of assassination that was most likely carried out by a professional. And judging by the way this couple were tied and gagged and killed so quietly that even the housemaid who slept in the house did not hear anything, the police are suspecting that it may have been more than one person that may have done this. And if it's only one visitor that they had, then it's a little confusing as to how one visitor would have done this gruesome killing all by himself without anyone knowing or without a scream being let out. Not to talk about the fact that the couple's phones were switched off. Many theories have sprung up. A lot of people are now saying that it's a family dispute, that a family member had sent someone to go and pay them a visit to kill them so that they could take charge of a family land that Edward Murema owned. So that is one. Even it's been revealed that Edward was also married to someone in the USA but got divorced. I don't know how that part got to do with their death, but what majority of people are actually pointing out is the farmhand and the housemaid. And the funny thing is, the housemaid was very new. The housemaid was a new housemaid. Remember, this couple don't stay in Kenya, so their house was mostly never attended to. I guess this housemaid only came hearing that the couple were returning. That was when she was brought in or hired. It's not clear who hired her. But so she is new to the couple. And maybe that's why she probably did not know who the guest was. If she was an older worker, she may have recognized them, but she's new. And clearly that would make it a lot more difficult for her, or make it a lot more suspicious for her. Could she be the one that was sent? Or could it be that she and the farmhand already knew each other before now? The case is really mysterious and very confusing because the police are honestly still trying to look for who this strange man was. Hopefully, if they could find options and present it to the housemaid and the farmhand, they might be able to identify who this man was. Probably they did not know who he was by name, but I'm sure they could remember his face if they saw him. It's just to narrow down every single person the couple were expecting through their phone calls. I'm sure if a visitor was coming, they would have gotten a phone call, especially if the visitor was going to spend the night, because that was the belief, that the visitor actually did spend the night in the house, and it was in the middle of the night that this visitor may have carried out his killing spree so quietly and so brutally that, I mean, I know it's a big house, but it would have been a lot more understandable if the house help could remember she heard a noise at night. You don't kill two people like that and nobody heard anything. Edward and Grace were not very old. They were in their 60s. Yes, they were elderly, but they were not frail old men and women. They were not that frail. I'm sure Edward could have put up a little fight in his defense, at least. And for them to be tied up like that, it seemed a little weird to me. Honestly, if you ask me, and I might be wrong, let me just put that disclaimer out there. I might be wrong, but this is how I perceive it. I do think maybe the farmhand and the housemaid might be the only two people to have orchestrated this in a way that it looks as clean as it does. No break in, no break out. Nobody saw the guests leave, and there was no way the guests would have left the compound without the help of the gardener opening the gate. And then the CCTV footage, clearly, there have to be a time frame to where the CCTV footage stops. Did it stop at the time the visitor came in, or has the CCTV panel been destroyed long before then? If that is the case, maybe someone known to the family had already pre-planned this before the couple came. For me, that strange visitor theory seems a bit off to me. It seems like I do not believe it. And since the housemaid was the one who dished them the food, maybe they had the food drugged so that they could do what they wanted to do. But again, that is the only way I see it. If there was no break-in, then how did the visitor leave the compound or the building? There is just so many questions to ask, and I'm sure the police will be able to find a way to unravel this. They're already looking into distant family relative and all of those bits. I guess we just see where it goes from there. Let's see what they could be able to come up with, because I will be following this case and I will be happy to update you guys. So stay subscribed and stay put on this page because we will be following this story. Before we go, you guys let me know what you think. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know your theories. Do you think there was an actual visitor that came to kill this couple in their home? Or do you think the housemaid and the farmhand know much more than what they are saying? I mean, if a visitor did come, there is no way they would have been able to do this or get away with it without at least the knowledge or a little support from the maid and the farmhand. It seems very orchestrated, very clean. And ironically, before we go to, I saw a comment that some people are suspecting the grandson Samuel, because he is the one who kept calling and checking and sending people over, almost like he was looking for something. Maybe he woke up thinking that by 8 o'clock he would have gotten the news, but he didn't get it, and the housemaid hasn't discovered the body, so he just went there to do it all by himself. Could it be that? But that is what someone did realize. And to be fair, when it comes to a case like this, everybody is a suspect. Every single person, including Samuel himself. I'm sorry, I know he's their grandchild, but we've seen children do worse to parents, and we've seen grandchildren do worse to grandparents. So let's just see how the story unfolds. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you guys for watching.